This is WJTV News Channel 12 at 6.
At age 38, she died. The man who took her hand in marriage, a rich Atala County baker, ordered the finest statue to be made both in her honor and in her image. But in 2011, a piece of that image was broken and taken. Jacob Kittilstad gets his fingers around this Kosciuszko saga this Mystery Monday.
Beauty in marble. Her name is Laura Kelly. Imaginary lace runs below her stone dress, fitting her hips in Scarlett O'Hara proportions. Delicate fingers clutch the fluffy folds of rigid rock, with her perfect hair impossible to blow in the breeze.
What she is wearing is possibly her wedding dress, and those are spoons that are on possibly the apron. She is leaning on an anchor. As in the anchor of the family. Back when I was growing up and we used to come, we were scared. We were scared because she looked mean, because she had all that horrible goop and everything on her, but she's quite beautiful. I told her. Sometimes I think I see her smile.
Sheila Pumphrey has lived near the Kosciuszko City Cemetery most of her life. She says now that she's older, history's become more important to her, including preserving it through photography.
And when I walked up to take a picture of her, I noticed that her hand had been broken off. It was a clean break, and it's the part that went over the top of the anchor. And then, of course, part of the anchor handle itself had gotten snapped off.
At the time, the statue was covered in lichen. Kids for generations, she says, would climb at it for fun or for pranks. It's possible there was just one prank too many. More than a century after Clay Kelly, her widower, ordered it.
From what all we can document, Mr. Kelly wanted to be able to sit up on the third story and look out the window and be able to gaze upon Miss Laura's statue down here.
And here I am sitting in the actual third story, looking out the actual window where this husband would have been checking on his dearly departed wife. Now, you can't see anything. The trees are overgrown. The cemetery is blocked completely. But back then, there may have been other reasons why this husband wasn't able to check on this statue. When
it came back, he was remarried to another lady named Lucy.
And the statue now faces away from the mansion, almost looking in the direction where her hand was found.
And they called someone because they did not want to touch the hand. They considered it a bad, a bad omen. My daughter did not want the hand in the house that it might decide to crawl down the hall. So anyway, but I told her that I would protect the hand at all costs. Of course, that was September, and Miss Kelly's hand really didn't get put on to just a few days before Halloween.
During that $2,000 restoration by specialists just north in Eupora, workers reattached the hand and sprayed off a lifetime of lichen, fulfilling Sheila's personal mission.
So I hope there will be somebody around who will take on this quest for the next 100 years, because I don't think I'm gonna make it, Jacob. I don't think I'm gonna make it, but she's quite beautiful. She really is.
Exploring the unexplained on Mystery Monday, Jacob Kittilstad, News Channel 12.
Well, that mansion on East Jefferson Street is currently for sale, fully restored. In the past, it's also served as a party location for Oprah Winfrey.
This is WJTV News Channel 12 at 6.
Vehicle identification numbers, or VINs, can tell you a lot of information, but the most basic of it is the type of car. Run one, it's a Toyota Corolla. Run another, it's a Ford F-150.
That's right, but there is a VIN in Hinds County. When you put it in the system, it only comes back as a Merle-mobile. Well, if you're asking yourself now, how's that legal? Jacob Kittilstad drives through the bureaucracy this Mystery Monday.
When Johnny Bootsy Morrow takes to the road, people tend to notice him. Or maybe it's just that pink Cadillac. But the man's got a stock of classic cars back at his rental hall. It's called The Room, but there's not much room left open. Packed with classics, there's one unique vehicle.
It's extremely doable, as you notice as I shake the car.
Even folks at car shows have never heard of.
They don't make them like that anymore. The first thing they like to know is, who is it made by? Is it Ford, Chevrolet, Oldsmobile? And I said, no, it's made by Willie Morrow.
Willie Morrow, the car collector's uncle, he grew up in Jackson's Georgetown community. His father was a mechanic, his brothers were mechanics, but
Maybe this is his own logo.
he was the mechanic.
And in his spare time, when he wasn't working on anyone else's car, he started working on projects for himself. The engine is located in the rear of the vehicle. It has the engine of a Honda motorcycle. Of course, it had motorcycle tires. Also, this is a hard-top convertible. Basically, felt like he had completed the car, that he could just go downtown to the tax assessor's office and get a tag for it. He has his windshield wiper control there. And when he walked in, they told him, said, Mr. Morrow, you just can't bill a car and come in and get a tag. You have to get what is known as a patent. So he said, what is a patent? I said, well, a patent is a process you have to go through in order to receive license plates. If he should hit something, it would not go into the car. And he said, well, I'm driving it right now. And I said, Mr. Morrow, you can't drive it because it's not a legal car.
Legal or not, it logs some road time.
And if you look at the odometer, it has about 25,000 miles on this vehicle. That's a pretty good amount put on between its creation date in 1970 up to when it was actually tagged in 1985.
I do know when you run the VIN number, it comes back to Mobile. A little time expired, and my family finally got together and they got a patent on the car. So he was a very happy man to finally receive a tag. And if you looked at the date on the tag, when this tag expired, it's close to the time that he passed. And so I think I picked up my love for automobiles from him.
Even now, it holds up, he says, against the other, more spacious cars in his collection.
And it's the closest to my heart because it's family. And it's a one of a kind. Everything else I have can be duplicated. This cannot, you know?
Exploring the unexplained on Mystery Monday, Jacob Kittilstad, News Channel 12.
It just makes you want to go driving, except not out in this weather.
No, yeah,
sure.
I don't think it was but that's a neat little car.
Yeah, it really is.
And I think 25,000 miles, I wonder how many of those miles were actually legal when he put on the road.
I don't
Probably
know.
not many, but he got around town on that one.
He really did. And Johnny Morrow says the Morrow-mobile is too small for him to drive, but all it would need is a hot battery.
Yeah, and a little TLC, he says, to get it back on the road again.
This is WJTV News Channel 12. That's it.
Liberia is the only African country founded by American colonization. The population, former slaves freed before the end of the Civil War. And yes, there is a Mississippi colony, the greatest numbers coming from the Prospect Hill Plantation. Jacob Kittilstad looks into its violent past, which almost stopped that move this Mystery Monday.
Hanging in the trees, Spanish moss sways around this former cotton plantation. Prospect Hill in Jefferson County was once stately. Lifetimes later,
Let's just say the building needs some work.
This one is really old and has holes in it. I mean, there's been no work on this house for many years, and so, you know, it rains pretty much directly into the house. We have 2 hives. He was able to remove one.
There's bees, caved-in ceilings, general destruction are all issues getting worked on by Jessica Crawford.
When Hurricane Katrina came through, it blew over a tree, which knocked down the roof.
She works for the Archaeological Conservancy that owns the house, rebuilt after a pre-Civil War slave uprising, a fire that killed a 6-year-old girl.
About a dozen or so slaves who were suspected to have started the fire were hung in the yard here. And then others were executed in following weeks.
To me, it goes way beyond just the typical antebellum home, you know, which the stories are, you know, interesting, but often kind of predictable.
Alan Huffman, author of Mississippi and Africa, says the slave uprising happened after a relative contested a will. It would have freed Prospect Hill slaves and paid for them to repatriate or go to Africa. In 1840, the state Supreme Court would uphold the will. The reasoning, slaves were considered property to be given.
Slaves from this plantation went to New Orleans, and from New Orleans went to Liberia, to the Mississippi colony in Africa that had been established for them.
I decided to track down the descendants of all those groups and just hear their version of the story. And most of the people that I spoke with who were descended from the slaves, they didn't mention the uprising in their version of the story.
In fact, there had been no contact between the African and American ancestors since before the Civil War until 2013, when some reunited here at the plantation. where stories say 12 slaves were lynched after that fire started, where history shows decades before the Emancipation Proclamation, black men in Mississippi would walk free, and where now the building rests in shambles.
Kind of eerie in a way, but it was a huge tree, and he said that that was the hanging tree. The tree blew down in the storm, and the damage to the back of the house was actually caused by that tree. You know, it's kind of eerie.
Exploring the unexplained on Mystery Monday, Jacob Kittilstad, News Channel 12.
The project to fix up the house has received a $50,000 grant from the Department of Archives and History. They're looking to raise $120,000 more for a new roof.